Welcome, everyone. This is Sandy Holterhouse, and this is Plant-Based Diets, exploring vegan, vegetarian, and other plant-based options. And this will be our introductory video just to get you kind of oriented to the class and the different types of diets that we're going to explore and the health benefits to us. So first of all, just starting very basic, a plant-based diet definition. It's a diet that's consisting largely or solely of vegetables, grains, pulses, which are our dried beans, peas, and legumes and lentils, or other foods that are derived from plants rather than animal products. So very simple there. And they also put in the Oxford Languages definition that studies show a plant-based diet may help prevent heart disease. It also has other benefits, and we'll explore some of those. But before I get into human health, no matter how you feel about climate change and that type of thing, it's just good to know some of the facts about how using animals as food affects our planet health. So we know that food production actually creates 30% of the greenhouse gas emissions, and animal products contribute to 75% of those greenhouse gas emissions. We also know that using beef in particular, it takes 1,800 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of beef, and that's it's very intensive to get water to create the grass to feed the cows or the grain to feed the cows, and then also they do drink a lot of water in their lifetime. So if you think about that, that's equivalent to about 100 human showers. So kind of an expensive pound of beef when it comes to water consumption. We can decrease agricultural land use and help to alleviate hunger by reducing the amount of meat that we eat. So agricultural cropland accounts for about 40% of the Earth's ice-free landmass. And about 1/3 of that cropland actually goes to creating feed for our animals. So what if we used more of that cropland to grow food for humans? We do know that 820 million people around the globe lack sufficient food. So that might be one strategy, less growth of cropland, using cropland for our animals and more of it to help to feed our humans. And we also know that eating more of a plant-based diet can help save lives. It can help decrease the premature death by about 11 million people per year worldwide, and that's with heart disease and cancers and other disease that can be associated to heavy meat eating. And this is all from the Physicians Clinic for Responsible Medicine, and the link is on there if you want to do any more exploration on that. So human health. Plant-based diets have really been shown to have significant health benefits. A vegan lifestyle, for example, can virtually eliminate foods in your diet that can lead to poor health outcomes. So vegan diets are going to be very low in saturated fat and cholesterol, and they're actually going to be very high in those fiber-rich foods, antioxidants, and phytonutrients. And really the goal is to just start with trying to get in 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. And doctors will tell you that that will decrease the amount of stress on your body, on your heart, and help to prevent those diseases. So that could be a really good first goal for a lot of people. We know that plant-based diets have also been shown to lower the risk of heart disease, hypertension, which is a risk factor for heart disease or can be standalone disease, diabetes, digestive diseases, and colon and breast cancers. We also know that red meat in particular can be linked to inflammation in the body. And same goes for milk or egg products. Those happen to be the higher allergy foods that we see in our diets. So all those foods that we eat that can cause any type of allergic reaction can contribute to inflammation in our body. And let's just briefly touch on animal health. So you might choose to want to support animal health by selecting a more plant-based diet that will decrease the factory farming, decreases animal cruelty, and therefore by choosing that type of food diet lifestyle, that will decrease the demand for animal products. And if you are interested in any, there's a lot of videos out there, documentaries on the animal factory farming that you can find on Netflix or probably on YouTube as well. So plant-based diets considerations. So just some things you might want to think about when you're starting to select a plant-based diet. First of all, do you like fruits and vegetables? Because that should really be a big staple part of a plant-based diet. We know that there's tons of phytonutrients in the fruits and vegetables, especially the colorful ones that we eat. So, sometimes it's helpful to make a list or get a list off the internet and check off the fruits and vegetables that you like. And maybe consider trying some new ones if you're not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables in your diet. Also, do you like plant-based sources of proteins? So do you like those beans and legumes, the chickpeas, the lentils? Are you willing to try some foods with those or start to kind of shift over to more of those types of plant-based proteins? Are you also willing to work at getting complementary proteins in the diet to achieve all the essential amino acids? There are some plant-based complete proteins, and we'll cover those later, but oftentimes you might be eating, beans and rice, or beans and vegetables, or grains and vegetables. So how can you be sure that you're getting the right complementary proteins to get all those essential amino acids that you need? Cost, that's certainly something to think about. If you are going out more to eat plant-based foods, that can get fairly expensive. And then, trying to find them on the menu, of course, can be a little bit of a food hassle. And organic, are you going to spend your money on organic versus conventional? And I will include the list on here for the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. So the Dirty Dozen is basically the Environmental Working Group's list of the most fruits and vegetables with the most pesticides found in them. And then nutritional quality. Again, are you really willing to work at making sure that you're getting all the nutrient targets in your diet? And are you willing to do that through your food and eat the kinds of foods that you need to include those nutrients? Or would you need to consider supplementing? So those are all good questions to ask. And then also just looking at your personal values and goals. Does this food style work with your health goals, with your life goals? Will you be deterred, by family and friends, like events and holidays? Or do you have a spouse that will only eat meat and potatoes, and will that make it much more difficult for you to stay on the diet? So you need to think about those type of things. And maybe you want to do more of a transitional type plant-based diet if those are considerations that might affect you. And there will be food hassles. So you may go out to eat with friends and you might not be able to find something on the menu that looks appealing and fits the type of plant-based lifestyle. So you might have to, improvise. You might have to choose something vegetarian or choose something pescatarian with including fish, or maybe be a little bit more of a flexitarian when you're going out. So just be aware that those will come up and you'll have to deal with those as you go through trying to transition to a more plant-based diet. And here's the list from the Dirty Dozen, Clean 15. It's from the Environmental Working Group. The Dirty Dozen, those are going to be the foods that they have found that contain the most pesticides. So I'll just kind of go through those. I think they study about 45 to 50 foods each year, and it's done by an independent lab that checks these amounts. So strawberries were found to be containing the most pesticides, and then also spinach, the other greens, kale and collard and mustard, nectarines, apples, grapes, cherries, peaches, pears, bell and hot peppers, celery, and tomatoes. So those are found to be some of the, what they would call the dirtier, with containing more pesticides. So those might be the fruits and vegetables that you would want to consider spending a little bit more money on to buy organic. So what are some of the plant-based diet options? And let me just go through these. Vegan diet, a lot of times that's also going to be a lifestyle choice. So you're promoting animal welfare. Maybe you won't wear wool or silk, and maybe you won't use personal care products that contain any type of animal products. So definitely could be a very life inclusive choice to become a vegan. But you would exclude all animal derived products, including meat, seafood, dairy, eggs, honey, and other products I'll tell you about as well that come from insects that you probably would not want to use. And just so you know, I don't really work with a lot of people that are raw vegans or ascertain to want to be a raw vegan, but they're eating mostly raw food, and they all cook foods generally from about 104 to 118 degrees. They won't heat them any hotter than that. And the reason is to maintain the enzymes and nutrient profile of the foods. There's lacto-ovo-vegetarian, which is what we commonly call just a vegetarian, meaning that they don't eat, meat, fish, seafood, and other poultry, that type of thing. But they do eat the products that come from those animals, so milk and eggs. You could be a lacto-vegetarian, meaning you exclude eggs in the diet, or you could be an ovo-vegetarian, which means you exclude dairy products. So there's a lot of different types of vegetarian type diets. A pescatarian diet would be a vegetarian diet that includes fish, and most of the time they will also include dairy and eggs, but that's kind of subjective, up to the person whether they want to include those. This is a great diet if you're concerned about getting your omega-3s in your diet that you can get from those fatty fish. There's a pulletarian diet. That's a vegetarian diet which includes chicken. And again, it may or may not include dairy or eggs. There's pescipulletarian, a vegetarian diet that includes some fish and chicken. And there's a flexitarian diet, or what we would call semi-vegetarian. And it's a mostly plant-based diet with occasional use of meat or seafood or animal products, but generally in the very low amounts, generally 9 to up to 26 ounces of animal meat per week. But I don't want you to think of this as lazy vegetarian, because you're actively in this diet trying to keep the amount of meat consumption down and eat more plant-based meals. And here's just some tips from old ways, traditional diets, on how to transition to becoming more plant-based with your meals. So number one, build your breakfasts around oatmeal, whole grain cereal, or a slice of whole grain bread, spread with guacamole or nut butter, and include some fresh fruit with that as well. Make a vegetarian meal one night a week, and then start to work that into more weeknights. So maybe you then transition to a couple, or maybe 3, or maybe you become mostly vegetarian or vegan by by incorporating more plant-based and less of the meat-based meals in your diet. Fill at least half of your dinner plate with salad greens and cooked or raw vegetables. Reach for healthy fats. That includes nuts, peanuts, nut butters, seeds can fit in there as well, olives, avocados, on olive oil or other plant oils that you might like. Build a meal around salad. So fill that bowl with delicious salad greens, add those vegetables. They can be raw or roasted. You can add some nuts for some crunch, fresh herbs, beans, sprouts, and finish off with your favorite dressing or some vinaigrette. Include a side of barley, quinoa, brown rice, farro, so some of those whole grains with your dinner, and you can top those off with some seeds or nuts. That helps to make them a complete protein, and also put on some fresh herbs. Go for the greens. I think this is a great thing to do at lunch. Get some more of those greens in, either cooked or raw. So kale, Swiss chard, collards, spinach, whatever you like. You can stir fry them, throw them into soups, throw them on salads. Drink plenty of water throughout the day. So try to make water the #1 beverage that you are selecting during the day. You can eat fresh or dried fruit for dessert or with your dessert. And then try to sit down with friends or family as often as possible to really enjoy a sit-down dinner together. So this is our last slide for this video, and our first challenge here is to explore a variety of plant-based breakfast options. So try to build your breakfast again. So this is one of those old ways steps. Build your breakfast around oatmeal, whole grain cereal, or a slice of whole grain bread. Spread with some of that, avocado or guacamole, nut butter, and also include some fresh fruit. If not with your breakfast, maybe as a snack later in the morning. So next week we will be moving on to vegan and vegetarian diets, and we will have an upcoming class on the second Thursday of this session, a Zoom video. So if you do have any questions, make sure that you email those to me or send them through the virtual gym, and I'll make sure that I get those answered during that Zoom session. And you can join that live or later on if you're not able to join at noon on that day. Thanks for joining.